Welcome to the Michael Mayers podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Michael Mayers, and with me today is the talented and lovely Ashley Wright. Introduce yourself for us a little bit, Ashley. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, first off, I want to say thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Love your energy and your vibes. So super excited to be
Thank you.
on here. But yeah, my name is Ashley. I am a crypto and Web3 educator, as well as community builder. So I do a lot of like different events, workshops, really educating people how this space works. And then outside of that, I do a little bit on like branding as well for those that want to learn how to start a business and really help them develop the mindset piece that they need as well to be successful.
That's really important, and like I think that there should be more like diverse representation in terms of the types of people that get involved, especially with financial literacy and everything that we speak about there. And you are a huge in the community to your point, and creating and fostering that. And so tell us a little bit about your intentions and your motivations behind that being the core focus of having more Black representation in the financial space.
Yeah, so that's a huge point for sure. Like, so for me, I never thought about getting into the space at all. And then when I got in, and that was like back in 2016, right, there wasn't a lot of people that were in the space, much less Black individuals, right? And unfortunately, like, there's been some progress, but even today, like, I go to conferences, events all over the world, and I'm still maybe one of like 2 or 3 Black people in the room. Right. So there's a lot of work to do there. I think a lot of it is because like our mindset in terms of when it comes to even like our community talking about money.
Yeah.
Like it's like before I can even get them to talk about like crypto and blockchain, I have to take a step back and have that mindset piece and about financial literacy first before they can even dive into that. So it has its own challenges, but there's a huge gap.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a chasm between like the comfortability of speaking about financial literacy and balancing that with, get prying into people's personal business. I think there's a big correlation between the two, and I find people, it goes for any conversational topic. The less you know, the less comfortable you are speaking about certain things. But that is a self-fulfilling prophecy in and of itself, where it's like, when are you going to start to learn until you put yourself in those positions? So the first thing before I get into like what positions you're offering, I want to ask you, how you said 2016, how did you get involved? Who introduced you to it?
Yes. So believe it or not, I was literally just at home on the computer, just relaxing essentially. And like I said, back in 2016, and I just overheard my parents say the words Bitcoin, digital currency, all those pieces. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Because I've never heard about anything like that before. I literally thought they were crazy talking about like digital money and whatever. But I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'll just try it out. So I took about $300. I invested into Bitcoin for the very first time. And then I totally forgot that the funds were there because I'm like, it's not something I do, right? So yeah, forgot about it. And then I'm like, hold on a second. I need to go back and check what happened to my money. And so when I logged back on to check my account, I looked and that $300 grew to almost $900 within a few months. And so I'm like, I don't know how this works. I don't know what I did, but I need to do that again. And that's what really just took it to the next level for me.
That's amazing. And what's funny about that is usually it's the younger generation showing it to the older generation. So it's interesting that your parents are on like that, the forefront of that. Have they always kind of had those conversations around like money like that around you? And that's kind of how that happened?
Believe it, not always, actually. So my parents, they're Jamaican. They came here when they were really young, went to school, went through the process of what you're told to do. And they were actually just working for like some of the financial institutions for the longest time. And then it wasn't until that they really just decided that, hey, you know what, let's try to learn about entrepreneurship, and started their own business and really just went out there and started to dive in, where they actually got plugged into like personal development, right? Learning about mindset. How do you make money? How do you build an organization? How do you, become successful? And that's what changed their mind. And then all of that really just kind of trickled onto me, essentially.
That's interesting. So like now that you found out about it in that way, like what are some of the things that you're proud of creating and fostering and in terms of community-based like engagements and whatnot that you're pouring your heart and soul into, and some of the rewards that are being reaped from putting these people together that typically wouldn't be able to connect?
I honestly would say like what makes like what makes me happy about the work that I'm doing is really just being able to create impact, right? Yes, it's still a business. You want to be able to make money and monetize, of course, but essentially it's like, what's the point of making money if I can't make money with my people, right? So that's really what the goal is. When people are able to come in and say, hey, like, this space of crypto and blockchain, it doesn't matter what you look like, what your educational background is, like, it's open to everybody. That's why we keep talking about that. It's so decentralized, right? So it's not like one organization or the government or any financial institution owns everything. It's like everybody can be their own bank. Everybody can have access to financial services, right? So it's really, as I like to say, putting the power back into the people's hands.
And like, I really do believe that that is going to be the case. A lot of, powers that be, hegemonic powers that be, like banks or whatever, what have you, they kind of have power that's been established, and uprooting that, turning the monopoly board over, if you will. That's something that's really being pushed against. However, the power of the people has shown throughout history that when the people want something, that's usually what they go ahead and get. But the important thing is getting educated to know what the options really even are. So what are some of the ways that you've noticed and you were super excited about in terms of the application of blockchain and cryptocurrency in everyday economy, be it from, music, art, real estate, etc.? What are some of the areas that you're really excited about personally?
Oh my gosh, there's like so many. To
Right.
be honest with you, yes. Okay, from like cryptocurrency investing is still amazing.
Right.
Like, to be honest with you, I don't think I've seen any other asset that can move as fast as cryptocurrency.
Correct. It's the most volatile on the planet,
is.
for sure.
And when it's doing well, you can do well.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, it's like a lot of people lose money because they don't have a game plan of like how they're going to get in, monetize, and actually get out.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
An exit strategy.
Right. And realize those profits. So the investing side is amazing. In terms of other applications, you'll always hear me talk about real estate.
Yep.
I love real estate and having that as another additional stream of income. And so with real estate, it's like a whole different game, right? Because now you have the idea of having physical assets now turning into digital assets.
Yes.
You have what they call like fractional ownership, where you can actually own a fraction of a building or a fraction of a property as well. And all of that can also be done in the form of like NFTs as well, which is really cool. I've made some content talking about like how they have crypto mortgages, essentially like crypto backed loans, which is really interesting. So real estate is amazing. Sports, for those sports lovers, they're pretty popular when it comes to like NFTs and digital collectibles. So for those that are like really big NBA fans, right? They have NBA Top Shot, which is really nice. Being able to like own the digital video of like LeBron doing a dunk as an example, right? So there's so many applications. It's not just Bitcoin that you have to invest in. Like there's people solving problems. But I also say too, and this is also one of the reasons why I decided to dive in even further in this space, is because I realized that a lot of people don't have access to everyday financial services. Right. So that's probably one of the biggest applications where other people around the world are actually, seeing growth in this space a lot faster because they need it. They don't, they're not able to use the currency that they have locally, right? Or they don't have access to bank accounts, loans, and stuff like that. So it's like they need Bitcoin. They need this cryptocurrency and this technology more than we do, which is why it's slower here, but
I agree.
It's growing.
I totally agree 100%. One of the biggest places I place an emphasis on is payments, like cross-border payments, and making sure that how do we understand where money goes from point A to point Z? How many people and entities and banks touch our money before it gets to its primary destination? If you send money in the bank right now, it's going to take 3 to 5 business days in more developed countries, whereas in developing nations, it's more of a 5 to 10 business days type of thing. And that is where I'm super excited about in terms of leveling the playing field, in terms of, okay, I have a business and I live in El Salvador. What is my ability to compete with a company that I could be twice as good? Having my business model could be pristine compared to somebody in North America, but because the access to the funds getting into the X account in 2 to 3 times as fast, it just makes, and that's what has brain drain, leave those countries and go elsewhere to seek better opportunities, right? So I kind of look at those things, understanding things like correspondent banking systems and who touches the money and everything like that. It's very fascinating how like you said, it's beyond an investment in terms of money. this isn't just a get in and get out type of thing. This is an opportunity to learn about the many different facets that the economy has in terms of the wrinkles that it has. So in terms of like some of like you have programs. So tell us a bit about some of the programs you're using to educate people and how you end up building those curriculums in order to get novices and convert them into people that might be able to go and fish for themselves, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. So I created a 7-week crypto strategy academy. So essentially, it's literally teaching someone all the fundamentals of some of the different areas within the space within 7 weeks. So we touch on, like, of course, portfolio building. How do you buy crypto, secure it, and of course diversify? NFTs, decentralized finance, which is another piece. Everything from all of that to how do you even launch your career or start a business in this space? Because there's actually tons of opportunities. So that's like a full 7-week program, cohort-based program. Probably run it maybe 2 to 3 times a year. Which has been really great. And I'm happy to say, because it is a virtual program, we've probably had, like, I think about 400 students that have gone through the program, which is pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I also have a workbook that I've created as well that has, like, templates, worksheets that people can use on their journey, and created one for youth because kids and youth are so excited about this technology, and it clicks a lot faster for them versus adults, right? So they hear like digital currency, it makes sense. They're already using that especially when it comes to like gaming and other pieces, right? So it just makes a lot of sense. But I wanted to create something specific for them that's still fairly interactive.
That's amazing. And like I really feel like, when you invest in the youth, you're investing in the future. And if this technology is the future, the best thing we can do is arm the youth with the knowledge on how to leverage it in creative ways. Because especially young kids, they're the most creative. Like when you're a child, you haven't had like the callous nature of adulthood kind of come and wash over you, where you lose that childlike wonder, that scientist on the inside of you that's willing to go and explore and experiment and see what it's like. Oh, the water knocks down the sandcastle when it hits. What if I do this to try to fortify it more? And you're just like that playfulness, as opposed to the rat race where you're just focusing. You got the blinders on, you're focusing on this task that you think is so important when you're not stopping to smell those proverbial roses. So like at the end of the day, one thing I want to really emphasize to everybody is like, this is such an early stage. That's good for an investment, but that's also a good sign for how much more this space has to offer in terms of what is possible. So like for you sitting there, like what are some of the ways you're using crypto today? Is there any application you're seeing that you're using it today, or is it more so that you're focusing on the future applications of things?
So great question. So a little bit of both. It just depends on the industry. I think a lot of the ones that I mentioned, for the most part, I'm like involved, especially when it comes to like NFTs, digital collectibles. So I do have quite a few, and not financial advice. So do your own research. But like a lot of the sports NFTs, I was able to get in pretty early. So a lot of that for me has been more from an investment perspective, or being able to trade some of those sports NFTs. Trading, investing as a whole, of course, and then other applications. I mean, like, it's like some of the ones that people always ask me, like the real estate ones are out there, but they're still so early, where it's like the regulation hasn't even caught up yet.
Right, of course.
Right. So it's like a lot of most applications, I'd like to say, are still very new. Right. And that's why people only look at crypto, because that's literally the largest application right today. And that's still not even necessarily universally accepted yet.
Of course.
Right. So we have a long way to go. Yes. But that's what I keep telling people, like, it's still a great time to get involved. It's still super early. Yes, Bitcoin went up, everything went back down, but this is a huge opportunity to actually get in before all those applications actually realize. And then it's kind of like too late, right?
And before large institutions like banks can go ahead and start grabbing the things that actually serve as solutions to things.
Correct.
Which goes into the next part I wanted to talk about, which is like vetting your crypto that you might go and invest into. Because a lot of people are looking for pump and dumps. They're looking for a quick gain of money, and they promise the world and don't deliver anything.
The animal coins.
Right? Any of those? There's some names of some of these things. I'm like, look, I don't know.
I'm telling you.
I don't know what cum rocket is, but it's not getting a dime of my money. I'm good.
My one of my mentors said, if your portfolio starts to look like Noah's Ark, that's a red flag.
I'm dead. That's hilarious.
It is.
That's good.
It is. But it's true.
That's good.
It is
yes.
very true.
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, we talked about this earlier, and you talked about the problems. Well, how many of these things are actual problems where there's a solution being offered? Because I feel like a lot of this is like, oh, this is a wave. I can jump on the wave and I can get off the wave. And people want to do some, I call it like a degenerate, like just trading. You're just going in and getting out and just trying to make a quick buck. But there's a lot of merit in being a sophisticated investor who's looking for longevity of a hold onto something. Yes, take your profits like we talked about before, but there, you'll be confident in leaving some exposed for the longer haul, knowing full well, okay, you know, clarity and regulations will come up at some point, for example.
Correct.
There's over 25,000 cryptocurrency projects out there, of which there's probably only 1,000 that are really kind of pushing the envelope, maybe a few more, maybe a few, frankly. And I think that when it comes to vetting those sources, what are some of the things you look for? Because for me, some of the things I look for is the team putting their face on this? Is this a fake project in terms of like, do I know who these people are? Are these just like pseudonyms or just ghosts behind the machine? Correct. Because people that are willing to put their name on something know that there's something to lose if it goes south or something
Correct.
goes the other direction.
Correct.
Asking yourself, is this too good to be true? All those types of Ponzi-nomics that we start trying to pay attention to. So what are some of the things you look for in terms of finding something that actually has some legs for moving forward?
Yes. So a great point, and that's one of the biggest ones is like who's behind the organization. And sometimes I'll even dig deeper to see like what does their resume even look like? Do they have experience even in the blockchain cryptocurrency industry, right? And you'll be surprised at like how many people are just coming from like whatever background and then coming into this space, because realistically, like you mentioned, there's tons of coins and anybody can literally create one. So it's like you need to really understand the process. So I actually have like a full like 6-step process or model that I follow, but some of the pieces are like you mentioned, like who's behind the organization. Sometimes I'll also say like tokenomics, which is like the numbers behind it, how many coins will ever be in circulation. And you know that those specific details about the cryptocurrency, and then also looking at partnerships. Do they have any deals with large existing organizations? Right? Not financial advice, but as an example, there's a cryptocurrency called VeChain that specifically deals with supply chains. Right? They have a partnership with like Walmart as an example, right? So it's like, how are you, like, as you're looking through the process to see if they are a credible organization, if they're working with other credible organizations, like Web2 organizations, that's a huge plus. Yes. If they're willing to put their name behind it, right? So those are some of the pieces. White paper that has a pretty good breakdown as well as like what's behind the project overall.
What's the roadmap and everything.
Right? Community is also really important. A lot of these cryptocurrencies are very community driven, right? Dogecoin being like one of the top ones. So really looking at what that looks like. Do they have a good following? Who else is backing them? Which companies are backing them? Stuff like that is kind of how you just kind of dig in, but also using one of my favorite platforms called CoinGecko is amazing. And literally it's a good place to start because at least you can see what the price point is of the coin. How can you find the exact website, social media, and some of the other context? And make sure you're clicking on the right websites while you're doing your research as well. Yeah,
a lot of social media gets leveraged to get people to send their crypto to places. People you're masquerading as influencers, YouTubers, heads of companies, people like that. So having an open eye, understand, because this is the thing, right? Is it's still the Wild West out here to a degree. Well, it is. Because at the end of the day, we're pioneers, we're venturing through this, and there's lots of opportunity, but there's a lot of people that are trying to take advantage of people looking for an opportunity. And that's where blind trust begins and ends, in the same spot. And I always, like, for me, I'm like, okay, what are problems that actually exist? Because they're going to suggest they're offering something. Find out if that problem actually has a value proposition associated with it. Because they could honestly offer a solid solution to something, but there's no actual financial value to that solution.
Correct.
Like it doesn't have a huge value. If yours payments, okay, we need to get some from a bridge currency. Something needs to be valued at a certain point to go from point A to point B. Or a supply chain. Okay, I can see there's value in being offered that there's a QR code on this bottle of water. I know exactly where it's sourced. Correct. Where's the value coming from? It's in its use case.
Exactly.
Some of these don't really have a use case.
A lot of them.
And aren't really solving a problem because they're creating their own problem and telling you we have a solution to something that they created in and of itself. And I see a lot of that specifically in the real world economy. And I think there's a lot of players that want to take that real world issue and bring it into the digital area, the digital space, where it's not a place of refuge, but just a place to have even more instant access to dupe more people in a rapid succession.
No, I 100% agree with you. And once again, it's like that's why a lot of people are hesitant when it comes to getting involved, because they know that the space is risky.
Right.
Which at the end of the day, there's risk in everything. It always goes back to being educated.
Yes.
Because if you know what not to do and what to do, then you're able to avoid a lot of those risks. You're able to avoid losing money and wasting your time.
Right.
Right? Because I'm not going to lie, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, it is a very detail-oriented space. And unfortunately, it can be a little bit technical as well. So, even when we think about mass adoption, when are we going to get to that point where cryptocurrency and blockchain technology becomes an everyday thing? It's like the processes for people to be onboarded into the space have to be a lot easier. And that's why we have like other organizations that create products that, the onboard, even like Apple as an example, when they first brought out their iPhone, like everything was so seamless and simple, right? Where people are able to just go through the process and they're able to figure it out. So when we can get exactly, so when we can get some of these applications and even the process of setting up your cryptocurrency wallet to be as simple as that, that's where we'll start to see everything scale.
And I think that, a lot of the issues with that being easy to enter the space has a lot to do with the clarity and regulation that's not there. Because until the governments are able to get their cut or slice of the pie, they won't make it easy. Correct. Because the society, the rulers of society, kind of give those laws, and until they're able to vet, get involved, put their eggs in the basket, then they'll allow the masses that may not have the pioneer ideology where they're like, let me get in here, let me educate myself. Like, okay, if you're going to wait for us to educate you, you're going to have to also wait for us to pack our bags, type of thing. Yep. And that's where it's like, do you want to go and learn enough to go and maximize how much things are about to go up? Or are you going to be on the sidelines and kind of take the cautious approach to the point where, okay, well, maybe not taking on any risk is also its own type of a problem. There's over leveraging and there's under leveraging. And my thing is not financial advice either, but I would tell anybody, take 1% of what you've got and throw it in. Whatever percent, and that might be a lot for some people. So whatever you can put in that you wouldn't miss if it disappeared into nothing. Correct. Like that, but keeping some exposure. That $300 turned into $900, and I guarantee that sparked something inside you to learn more.
Exactly. And though that you're right, 100% you're right. One thing I wanted to point out too that I thought was pretty interesting is like, it's kind of like now or never. But at the same time, what's really interesting, especially here in Canada, the Bank of Canada already announced they're looking to launch a digital currency as well. Yes, they did. Right? So essentially, you just have to ask yourself, are you going to take the offense and start learning on your own and learning how you can take advantage of all the different types of cryptocurrencies that are out there and which ones make the most sense for you? Or do you want to sit back and wait until the government once again creates their own currency that still has a lot of the same problems as our traditional cash?
Well, think about it this way. If we get into just a bit of technicals when it comes to crypto, you've got like nodes, right? And you got validators. And if you think about it, if you were to break down, let's say something familiar like the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, into the terms of crypto, there's so basically the nodes uphold the network and keep it going. That's where you can, depending on how it is, some of them are inflationary like our dollars, and some of them are de-inflationary like some of the cryptos that are being created. And you've got the concept of like, okay, well, there's one federal reserve, there's one mint. That's one node.
Correct.
There's one place that creates all the cryptocurrency.
Correct.
And what if I told you that particular cryptocurrency inflated by X% over the last handful of years since the pandemic? You probably wouldn't invest in that.
Yep.
But by holding those dollars, you are basically saying, I'd rather bet on this than bet on that in terms of my maintaining or gaining value. Exactly. You're betting on the Canadian dollar outperforming X cryptocurrency, be it Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, any of the other big ones. You're betting on that having more value proposition moving forward. And I'm hard pressed to believe to concur on that, at least personally.
I totally agree with you. Like I said, you have two options, but it's like everything's digital regardless.
Yes.
Right? It's like just have to just pick one. And at the same time, like I said, it's still going to have the same issues that we have right now with cash, right? They still dominate everything. We'll still have a lot more or an even more strict regulations in terms of how it can be used. And, I'm pretty sure, and of course, still, once again, do your own research. You're not making any claims or anything, but I'm pretty sure, like I said, it's still going to have that same piece where they can just create as much as they want, right? They're doing that with cash, printing more and more every day. And same thing with crypto. Once they release that, yes, everything's gonna be transparent, everything's gonna be available, right? It's gonna be secured information, but it's still gonna have the same issues. So it's like, what are you really gaining, what is really the difference aside from it being digital?
Digitizing the antiquated system that's already broken versus finding ways to get involved in things that are, again, in the spirit of what cryptocurrency was created to be, which is an alternative.
Exactly.
And switching gears real quick. So if you, given this like awesome conversation, thank you so much for giving me your time. One thing I'm very curious to find out is if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you be doing? Like you seem a very community based. So what would, if you couldn't be working in this industry, where would you be working? What would you be doing instead?
That's a good question. If I wasn't specifically in like crypto and blockchain, I would hope that I would still be in tech as a whole. And still doing, community work. Like that's what I do. That's what I love. I love community work. I love business. I love building organizations, developing products. Like that's what I love. So as long as it's in between like business and of course tech, like I'm good.
That's awesome. Yeah, like for me personally, I'd probably be doing like therapy or whatever. Like I like talking to people. I just love talking to people. What that speaks to is translatable skills, right? You're all about community, and like for me, it's all about like having conversations and getting people to open up about things and whatnot. So real quick, like what are some of the hobbies you do outside of the financial world? What are some of the things that make Ashley say, just for fun? What are you doing?
What if I said that I like doing work for fun?
I mean, then you'd be a workaholic.
No, I love traveling.
Yeah.
I actually have been traveling quite a bit. Yeah. I'm going to be traveling even more, but I love it. I love going to different places. I love music. So being able to go out with friends is always fun. Roller skating is also a really good vibe too.
Okay.
So basketball, I just shoot around. Okay. I'm not a professional. I mean,
she's not a baller.
And not used to be. I'm not too bad from the three, but not just put it out there. But more for fun. Yeah. But yeah, that's really it. But I love the work that I do. So I get up and I'm excited to check my emails and see what's going on and see people at the community that are just excited to be there.
If you love what you do for a living, you're gonna be living your life to the fullest. You know, you're gonna be living your life, not just existing. So thank you very much for joining me on the Michael Mayers podcast and giving me your time.
Thank you for having me.
An awesome no problem. And you're having an awesome event later on today. On blockchain.
Yes.
I'm super excited to go to that. And are you going to be doing more of those going forward?
Yeah. So the next one's actually going to be in August. Nice. Happening around the same time as like Canada's largest crypto blockchain conference.
Nice.
I'm right by the water, actually. Okay. So it's going to be amazing. Really, really, really nice.
Cabana Pool Bar?
That's right. Yeah.
There it is. You guys better be ready. So thank you for joining us. And I hope you guys learned something. Leave us some comments, likes, and share this video everywhere you listen to your podcasts. We'll check you guys next time. Peace.